How's it going, everybody? It's Matt again, and today we're going to talk about a third-party transformer. It's going to be EX-ZETA, I guess. It's going to be ZETA and MODFANS kind of collaborated to make this thing, which is the EX-09U Grant. This is their Grand Maximus. I guess it is a repaint of their original Fortress Maximus. It was a little miniature size, little Fort Max. So they collaborated, or maybe ModFans actually is ZETA, who actually knows. But they made a Grand Maximus version. So here is the box that it comes in. It is very, I mean, it's bland. It's just a box, but it does have this nice, it opens up, and then here he'll be just kind of chilling inside there. So that's about it for that. He is going to come with a set of instructions, of course. Here it is. Obviously there it says ModFans and whatnot. So I don't know if this is different from the original instructions. I don't actually have the original Grand or Fortress Max, so I can't tell you. But there's the instructions. He's going to come with, of course, your obligatory card that they always come with. There he is. There's his tech specs and whatnot. If you care about that, I do not. He's going to come with this. It's a sheet of kind of like 3D decals. I might put these on later. Maybe I'll put them on towards the end of the video or something. I don't know. But they're like 3D decals. So I'm assuming that you peel this off, put it on, then remove the paper. Which is kind of cool. I guess it's to kind of replicate his toy, the original Grand Max toy. So that's pretty cool that they included that. I don't know if I'll use them or not. And then it comes with a screwdriver for some reason. I don't know why he comes with a screwdriver, but he comes with one. But let's go ahead and bring him in. He's packaged in bot mode, but I always like to start in alt mode. He has two alt modes, so we're going to start with this. Here he is in his base mode. And he's pretty hefty for his size. You know, he's decent. I will say that he's painted very, very nicely. There's a lot going on with the paint, as you can see. But there's a bunch of stuff that you can do in this mode. His little cannons can move up and down. This little hatch can open here. I didn't have this hatch opened here, but you can pull this down. Maybe. If it allows me to, there you go. You can pull down that little kind of like hatch ladder thing. This gun here can move up and down and rotate and go out and whatnot. These little panels here can open up and you can sit other figures on either side here. This panel likes to get stuck. But you can put other figures in there if you want to. Up here, I mean, this is just kind of, it doesn't tell you where to put the gun. I just kind of put it like that. You can put it here like this if you want to kind of arrange it however. But if you open up this up here, we have his headmaster. And I will say that I don't know if this was an error or if this was intentional, but that is a fully unpainted figure. It does not look the greatest. He needed something for the head. It is just white plastic. It does not look good. But real quick, I'll go over the articulation for him. There's ball joints here in the shoulder. Move them up and around and however you want to. There are ball joints on the inside of the forearms, so you can kind of move them in and out, and you can rotate them, and they always pop off. These ball joints are not the greatest. But you can rotate them and make him look like he's doing curls because his wrists don't really rotate. But it's there. There are ball joints here in the hips, so you can move these forward and back. Not too much because of Grand Max's face there, but you can move them outside and all that good stuff. And then there's a ball joint here in the knee, so you can rotate those forwards and back and however you need to. Nothing in the ankles, nothing in the head, nothing like that. But it's pretty much all there is to him, so I'll set him aside. We can real quick just kind of take this into his spaceship mode. So we're just going to kind of close that up, bring these down. These little sections up here You're going to rotate out like this. This gun, you're just going to kind of bring around on this hinge, bring that up, and rotate it down. These panels here, these ramps, just lift them up and press them down. They'll peg in along the top of this panel, like so. We'll just take his gun off and set that to the side. And then these parts here, the big legs, you're going to lift them up off of here and kind of bring them out on this really tight ratchet and bring them all the way around like this, and then rotate them at the thigh like that, and then bring the foot down. So same thing here, gonna bring this part out, rotate down, rotate out, and then at the hip, bring them face forwards like so, and then bring them in so that they kind of line up like this. And then we have this flap here, which never seems to really peg in right, but lift that up, it's really tight, and then you're going to peg it in here for a really tight, solid connection. Lift that up, peg it in like that. It's very tight. And then more or less, there's his spaceship mode. Then we can just peg this in to the side. And there it is. He is, I suppose, a spaceship. Oh, you know what? I did forget one thing. These panels here on the backs, right here, we want to pull them off. They're on this double hinge right here. Come on. That's why I forgot them. So these panels just rotate up and around, and then they peg in like that to kind of fill in this section here, this big gap. You just rotate those around and peg them in like that. So, sorry, forgot that step. There is his spaceship mode. And of course, in this mode, you can still kind of angle his guns up. You can do whatever you want with this thing. You know, not a lot to talk about. His canopy, of course, does open, and you can fit his headmaster in there and close it. Of course, you can do that. But that's really about it for this mode. There are wheels. They are kind of tight, so they don't really serve any purpose as wheels. They're kind of useless, in my opinion. But these do technically roll here. This one rolls. This one rolls. I mean, he's more likely to slide than actually roll because they're just a little too tight. So they are there. But yeah, that's about it for his alt modes. Definitely weak alt modes, but that's not really the fault of MODFANS or ZETA. That's just the design of the character. So I can't really blame him too much for that. This was meant to be a giant playset, so they're just replicating that giant playset, and unfortunately, it's in small form. It just kind of looks like crap, but it's all right. But let's get him into bot mode. So we're going to take his gun off, and I will say, let's take a look at the gun itself. It is completely painted, by the way. It's kind of like this matte finish paint. This kind of color here, that's kind of like the bare plastic, so you can see that they did make an attempt at that. And the detail's really nice. But we'll set him aside, and we'll go ahead and turn his headmaster into his head mode, and it's just as simple as kind of lining up the hands to be his little ears. And then you just need to rotate the lower leg around and then peg them together. And then just rotate this down, and these little heel spurs will peg in, kind of peg in, like that. And then there is Grand Max's head. And I'll say, let's take a look at it here, bring it a little close. His face is very bland, man. I don't know. And he does have dead eyes. I don't know why that's clear plastic. I don't know why they did that. But dead eyes does not look very good. The metallic paint looks really nice, though. I will say that. Just this headmaster is just lacking a little bit. Let's go ahead and transform him. So let's start with the feet. And wow, would you look at that? Look at that. There's paint scuffing. That's kind of a shame. I just noticed that. But let's go ahead and lift his feet up like so he can stand. There's a little gun that will fold up and then just rotate to the back of the leg to get it out of the way. These panels here, gonna have to undo those, bring them down, and peg them in, though they like to pop out over time for some reason. It's like there's too much friction, so they pop out. So again, undo that, bring it down and peg it in. Let me pan my camera up because he's a little big. And then we're going to split this entire section in half and rotate it around to the sides, and they will peg in. And then these sections you're going to lift up off of here, and they are on a ball joint and a hinge. So you're going to rotate that ball joint around like this and just kind of get them out of the way for now. Oops, almost fell over. And then this whole section here, oh, I didn't realize that. There's a whole other ramp right here. Oh, there was a whole other ramp right there. I hadn't even noticed. So you can have that in base mode. I apologize. I hadn't seen that until just now. But anyways, this whole section here will just come down like this. And then these parts, they kind of rotate, but you want to have this little peg lined up with that hole. Like that. And it'll kind of lock it in place. Same thing on this side. Just want to make sure that everything is together how it should be. And everything will just kind of lock in place like that. And we'll come around to the front, or to the, yeah, from the front. And then you're going to rotate the shoulders down. And then these ramps peg into the backs of these forearms. Except they're really tight, of course. Pop them off of that. We can lift these ramps up. And then open up this panel. And then we can bring the fist out. Like so. Close that panel back down. Put that panel back down, and there's an arm. Same thing here. Rotate down. Unpeg from there. Open the panel. And then we can pull his wrist out. Close that up. And kind of arrange it like so. And then basically there he is. And then you can just take his headmaster, and he will plug in very securely to this clip right here. And I actually, do I have it facing the right way? Yeah, so this red section actually compresses in. So you push down on it, and it locks in really securely. So there he is. There's Grand Max in his bot mode. I think it looks decent. His head's a little disproportionate from his body, but you know, I think it looks fine. It looks accurate to his character. But I will say that the paint is really nice on this guy. The scuffing I just noticed down there, I hadn't seen that before, so I wonder if that'll be an issue throughout with him. But the whole thing is painted. Like, even the white, I think. Yeah, the white has kind of like this flecked paint to it. But yeah, I don't really see, I mean, the joints here aren't painted. They're just kind of like shiny. But yeah, mostly painted. Except for, of course, the translucent parts that are like here and here and whatnot. But it does look pretty good. I really like this metallic blue. The metallic blue and the matte red kind of looks good together. But yeah, he looks decent. There's of course some stuff that we can do with him here. Obviously, he can hold his gun just fine in that peg. But he's got a bunch of stuff that opens, like his little forearm panels here, I think, open up. Yeah, the forearm panels here open, and then he's got these little guns that can pop out. His chest panel opens up, so you can see this kind of detail in here. And I will say, this is pretty cool how it has that in there. When you rotate the head, that moves, which is pretty cool. And close that up. Of course, you can still open up both of these panels on either side, and they have kind of like seats molded into them for other headmasters, which is pretty sweet. His little guns here on his legs can angle up. This gun can, of course, come around and unfold, and you can use that. Lots of little things that you can do with them. I will say I kind of wish there was like a panel here that filled out this foot. It's got like kind of like a weird looking waffle section in there. He's just got this big hollow section down here in the foot, but yeah, all in all, not too bad. Let's go over articulation real quick, and I will warn you, everything on this thing is so insanely tight because of the paint. It's very scary, especially the shoulders. They're very scary to move, so hopefully I don't break it on camera. But we'll start at the head. There is no motion at all to this head just because he is a headmaster. Pretty much all that you can do is rotate it around, but you can't really rotate it all the way around because of his weird cheek things. And when you do move it, his legs on the back of the headmaster do come undone very easily. So like I said, just this headmaster is just lacking a little bit. He does his shoulders, you can rotate all the way around. They are not ratchet, or actually maybe a soft ratchet. The panels here you can rotate up and kind of get out of the way, just kind of back. They don't really rotate out. I kind of wish that you were able to splay them out a little bit. I think it would look pretty good. And then these shoulder joints are what I said was scary. So they are extremely tight. But you can get them up about that far. It's a soft ratchet, but they're just really scary to move. They have a mushroom peg up here in the biceps. You can rotate those all the way around. He does have a double jointed elbow. The first joint is you know, about 90 degrees. The second joint is pretty tight. Soft joint, or soft ratchet, will get you up about 180 degrees, which is pretty damn good. The wrists here do rotate, and the hands do open just on a single peg here. Oh, I did forget to mention, he has, of course, his big guns that you can pull out here, though they are, of course, very tight because of the paint, but you can pull out his big abdomen cannons. I forgot to mention that. Oh, man, those are tight. His waist has a really nice, there's a bit of play in that ratchet. You see how much play there is? It moves easily, but it's kind of scary. The hips here, we'll talk about the waist. So that's a nice feeling ratchet. Get it about that far forwards and get it about that far back, which is really good. That ratchet feels nice. Let me get that out of the way. The hips, get you out about that far. Again, that ratchet does not feel good. It's just a lot of bending. I don't like how much this bends. And then there is the rotating thigh. That is not ratcheted. And then we have a single joint knee, which, holy crap, that is tight. I don't know if anyone else's is like this, but holy cow, every joint on this thing is really tight. But you can get about 90 degrees. That is a soft ratchet, and you can see how it's like tearing up this bit here. Very tight. The foot does have an ankle rocker, though it looks a little wonky, but it does have it. And then you can, of course, move the toe up and down for transformation and whatnot. So, kind of scary to manipulate this guy, but the articulation is there. I will say one thing that I really, really do not like about especially the shoulders and especially the hips is they kind of suffer from the same crap that the Combiner Wars figures had, to where the ratchet, like the ratchet slots, they're too large. So you can either have his legs just straight, and then one single click of the ratchet out makes him look like that. I hate it when figures do this. I would have rather them be more ratchets in the hips, so that you can kind of have like a natural pose, but you kind of can't. So he's bolt upright at all times, which is kind of unfortunate. And same thing with his arms. This is one ratchet out. Or sorry, never mind. That's That's one. Oh, never mind. I might take that back. So I guess the shoulder ratchets are just very, very scary. But yeah. So articulation is okay. It's all right. It's just kind of scary to mess around with them. But let me clean them up a little bit, and we'll do some size comparisons. All right, so size comparison time. I don't really have a ton that makes sense to show with him, but I have a few things here and there. So let's do, how about another one of MODFANS things? Here is MODFANS Cerebros. And then how about, here he is with DX9's Double Dealer. And here's DX9's Chrome Dome. And why not? Here is Magic Square's Optimus Prime. You can see he's a big boy, as he's supposed to be. And here's some other stuff. Why not? There's New Age's Skyfire. And here I have, how about Make Toys, Jinrai. And then, of course, I have him, so let's show him next to Make Toys, God Jinrai. Which I think that he looks decent next to. So yeah, so there's some scale with him. Alright, so that's going to do it for Zeta Toys / MODFANS. EX-09U, their Grand Maximus. I don't know how I feel about him. He looks really cool. The scale is maybe a little off for what I think that they were going for, Legend scale. I'm not entirely sure. But, I mean, he looks good enough for a collection. I'm going to keep him. I'll put him in my collection. I'll put him up there probably with some of my larger bots that aren't combiners. The paint looks really nice. I'm still unsure if I'm going to put all these stickers on or not. I might still do it just to make him look like the toy version. I'll consider it. But I just got a lot of issues with just the tolerances. The tolerances are just not very good all around him. Some stuff just doesn't peg in right. Stuff pegs in too well. Or he's got floppy bits, and he's just got ratchets that just feel awful, and I'm worried that I'm going to break him. Those shoulders are terrible. The hips are not good. The knees are really, really tight. I got the paint wear is a little concerning, especially down there on the feet. I looked them over. I didn't really see anywhere else that it was happening, just those feet parts. But speaking of the paint, I mean, the paint is really good all around. It's just, why didn't they paint the headmaster? It just doesn't quite look right. The head up there just doesn't look very good, in my opinion. The headmaster himself, just having nothing on the bot mode, is just not the greatest in the world. But other than that, I mean, he looks decent. I've never been really the biggest fan of Grand Max or Fort Max, honestly. He's just not my bot, so maybe I'm just a little biased. I just don't really care too much for their designs. Like I said, this was originally a toy that was meant to be playset size, a gigantic toy. The original one was. So shrinking him down to this size, I just kind of feel like it takes away a little bit of like what he's meant to be. So making a small, tiny base and a small kind of spaceship mode, it just doesn't carry over very well. But you know, it's to no fault of Zeta or MODFANS. It's just the character design itself. So I can't really hit them with that. It's just not my preference. But all in all, I mean, I think he's an all-right figure. I don't think he's worth the price tag, to be honest. I mean, this thing was like 80-some bucks total. And he's just, I don't know. I just don't know if he's worth that price to me personally. You know, so it's up to you whether you like the character or not, and you feel like that's up to you. That's a whole other thing. But I don't know. But of course, that's going to be it for this guy. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really, really do appreciate it. If you made it this far, you know, consider leaving a like on the video, or you know, subscribe to the channel, comment. You know, just let me know what you think of this guy. But if you like my reviews, please feel free to check out my channel. There's a whole playlist of all my different Transformers reviews. I think most of the stuff that I showed off in the comparisons, I've done a review for, except I don't think the Make Toys Optimus, I don't think I've done one on that. But you know, check out check out my other videos. Of course, if you want to support me, the best way to do so is to do it on Patreon. A link to that is in the description in my link tree. You can go check that out. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.